Hello, good evening and welcome to PM Express. My name, as always, is Stephen Enti. Now, the new millennium has witnessed a significant change and attitudinal shift in both women's and society's thought about women's equality and emancipation. With more women in the boardroom now, greater equality in legislative rights, and an increased critical mass of women's visibility as impressive role models in every aspect of life, one could think that women have gained true equality. The unfortunate fact, however, is that women are still not paid equally to that of their male counterparts, when women still are not present in equal numbers in businesses or politics, and globally, women's education, health, and the violence against them is worse than that of men. However, great improvements have been made. Here in Ghana, we've had a female Speaker of Parliament and the Chief Justice is a woman. Girl-child education has improved. Women can now work and have a family, and they have real choices. And so the tone and nature of International Women's Day has, for the past few years, moved from being a reminder about the negatives of a celebration of the positives. Tonight, we'll talk to real women about what the gender agenda really is. We have in the studio Mrs. STELLA APENTENG, who is a businesswoman who has seen and experienced it all. Later on, we'll get on to the phone lines and speak to Ace broadcaster SHAMIMA Muslim. He will join us by phone to share her own vocal views of what it's like for a woman breaking in on a man's turf. You can join us by text 1760, or you can post your Facebook comments on our Facebook or facebook.com/Joy News. And if you are on Twitter, our Twitter handle is Joy News on TV. You can send us a tweet as well. My name is Stephen Enti and you're welcome. Madam Apenteng, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So, International Women's Day tomorrow has been themed the gender agenda. Is it gaining momentum? Would you say, if you look at the scenario in Ghana, that the gender issue, the issue of, maybe I should put it this way, affirmative action for women is gaining momentum?
I think it is gaining momentum because more and more women are putting themselves out to face the world out there. And as you know, women, well, you can call us battle axes, some of us, can hold on to the reins of things and get it to move. In a way, maybe we keep talking about parliament, less women and all that, but I think it shouldn't just come on a silver platter. You have to struggle for that.
You have to struggle for that.
Yes.
I mean, I like the way you put it that way, that women are out there and then you need to struggle for that. But should you really struggle for that? I mean, if you want to, you are maybe asking for equality, must you struggle to be seen as equal?
Well, not, maybe the word is not the struggling aspect, but to compete.
Okay.
We are at par, so compete and get in there. Because I think sometimes if things are handed over on a silver platter, we don't hold on to it properly. And people think, oh, well, because you're a woman, yes, but you are also a strong person. Women are not the weaker vessels. They are the strong.
They were well, I'm sure my wife will be listening and will be wondering whether I see. Of course, I don't see my wife as the weaker vessel, because day in and day out, the roles, the family roles have been that the women are taking care of us in the house. They're still juggling that with their careers and still trying to place themselves above the you know, the discrimination that usually exists in the boardroom. It must be tough being a woman. When you started out there as a businesswoman, what was the environment like then?
I think I started out as a nurse. I was a nurse midwife, and then I shifted into business. And I realized that, right, what do I know about business? I need to upgrade my skills, and so training, MDPI those days and all that, to be at par with the people, understanding, and also not just sit back and be dictated to. You need to voice out your feelings and your plans, plan with the people. And I think I was encouraged by my husband, who thought I was too forward. But then I come from a family where there are more women than the men. So it's like you have to be man, woman.
You have to juggle it all. And you did that. So, I mean, I'm looking at you, and then when I talk about affirmative action, for example, sometimes I feel women don't need affirmative action. I'm a man, so really, as I'm speaking to you, perhaps maybe some of my biases may show as a man, but do women need affirmative action?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, if we were going to university, they don't set different entry qualifications for women and different for men. So, I mean, I reckon that perhaps women are their own enemies. You don't think so?
Yes, I think because we tend to think, okay, the women are the weaker vessels. Let's use that term. Some people take it literally and want someone to push them before they, well, they can move. But I think if you're a woman, you need to be strong because of your build, your makeup. A woman will have to get up in the morning, make sure everything is done before you step out to work. When on your way home, you have to start thinking, what are the children going to eat? And all that. So that makes you a whole person. And you shouldn't feel sorry for yourself or thinking that, well, I'm a woman and it has my husband or my boyfriend or whatever, they need to hand something down to me. You've got to work for it. And I think when you are part of it, you know, you're fulfilled. You feel that I also have a share in it. So the affirmative action, yes, maybe to encourage some people, but most people don't really need
affirmative action. Now, when you look at the time you started out, I mean, from nurse and making the transition into business, and you look at the attitude of society towards women in general, do you see that there have been major shifts and change over the years?
Yes, I think initially there weren't many managing directors and all those, you know, the big ladies in higher positions. But then let us compare it to the women at the market. They are MDs because they know how to plan. They know about economics, they know about trends in businesses, they can forecast and all that. But it's like they want it to be done in a very small way in their bedrooms. So when they get out to the market, they're just getting on with it. But I think now it's shifted into offices because those parents or mothers are pushing their children, or the children are learning from their mothers, realizing that if my mother could do it, maybe not totally educated, I can even do better because those mothers are making sure their children get education. So the whole thing boils down to good education, self-confidence, and not thinking someone should do things for you.
I mean, the women bosses I have had in the media, I mean, my bosses have been women, and they've been brutally efficient. I mean, if I say brutally efficient, I mean, these are women who are directed by the core objective of the business, and then they're making sure that they have the responsibility to drive talents to achieve those goals, and they do that very efficiently. But it does get to a point where sometimes you get the feeling that these women bosses begin to assert too much authority because perhaps they're working in male-dominated environments. You think You think? Do you see that in the modern high-flying executive who is a woman?
Well, I think because you are competing, well, women tend to be more focused.
Yeah, very focused, right?
And they want to achieve. They want to do even better than the man. It's the competition. So that public will say, even the woman did better. So they need to go above. And I suppose in doing that, they tend to show the
aggressive side, the iron lady attitude.
Yes.
And this is normal, right? You say this is
I think it is normal because you need to achieve and you can't just play around and with the boys and think.
And especially where the boys are supposed to take instructions from you. Do women sometimes feel that if they don't become steely and hard, maybe the men won't take the instructions from them?
I believe so, but I think as a woman, it's like, okay, here are my children. So the woman instinct tells you, give the directives, let them do it. Yes, so you are bossy because normally you have to boss the children at home, and you may, if you're not careful, you will be portraying the same. But you need to divorce yourself from the home and the office. Yeah. And if you're not careful, you go overboard.
But you think generally women are faring much better in societal ranking in terms of career than they were during your time, right?
Yes, yes.
And this you think is positive?
I think it is a very positive thing because more women are gaining confidence, more women are, you know, have mentors and they can look up to, and whilst perhaps in my days there were just fewer women who were in higher positions, and so they didn't come out, you know. But now women getting the right education and knowing that there is no limit, you can go get it up there.
Go get it up there.
That's it.
We'll take a look at events at the launch of the International Women's Day today, and later I'll come back to you so you walk us through your practical experiences of how you juggled career and family. So take a watch.
There are many signs of this momentum on the African continent, from female entrepreneurship, which is driving growth in the region, to the fact that there are female government ministers or heads of state in South Africa, Ghana, Liberia, Malawi, and Rwanda, where 56% of seats in its House of Deputies held by women is currently the only government in the world dominated by women, putting the East African country well ahead of established democracies such as the United States, United Kingdom, and Japan, which all fall below the 25% mark. In Ghana, however, over the years, representation of women has been abysmally low. The number of women in parliament reduced considerably in 2008 from 25 to 20 in a 230-member parliament. 2012, however, saw the creation of 45 new constituencies, yet there are only 29 women in parliament. It should be emphasized, though, that this is the highest number since the post-colonial era. Joy News engaged a few women MPs on this year's theme and its relevance to the Ghanaian situation, asking if the gender agenda is gaining momentum in Ghana.
The gender agenda it involves so many things: improved maternal care, access to education for children, girls, and I mean everything that concerns women. And I believe we have made some inroads, but there's more that we have to do. Women form more than 50% of the population, yet we are not being represented well. So it's high time we come together and then make our voices heard.
Women have made a lot of strides. And this has been possible by all women across board, those in the communities, those in leadership positions, those who are advocates. We've all come together to make a lot of strides. If one takes a cursory look at corporations and departments, one would see a number of women heading these places. And even in politics itself, there has been an increase in the number of women in parliament, and also the number of women who really contested the presidential positions. We had 3 women at least attempting to take the leadership of the country, and quite a number of them also stood for the position of vice president. So I think generally we are making a lot of strides.
Comfort Doye Gansa, MP Ada constituency, was of a different opinion.
If you look at the situation in Parliament, in 1992 we have 16 women. Now 2012 we have 29 women. It was the seats that we increased from 230 to 275 that brought out that increment. Otherwise, we have even lesser number in Parliament. If it will really work, then I think stakeholders, government and other institutions must come out and then make sure we give safe seats to women to contest.
Our male MPs were not left out, as a few of them shared their opinions with us on this year's theme and its relevance to Ghana.
Well, I think it is, because there's a consciousness. The advocacy groups and maybe a lot of groups have done some work, so the consciousness is there. Women we are ladies. Some rough things they don't want to be part of. Maybe that is what is keeping some of them away. But apart from that, the consciousness is there.
Women in this country, West Africa, Africa, and the entire world are beginning to occupy very sensitive positions. And I believe after Beijing, most women have come to the realization that they need to take center stage in most of the activities that surrounds them, be it economic, social, politics, and what have you. Our cultural backgrounds and social settings historically has always placed men ahead of women. So they must strategize well to catch up.
May I take this particular opportunity to congratulate women in the whole world for their day that they are going to celebrate tomorrow. The fact is that, as we see in Ghana, previously it's not like that. When you look at the level of women getting into political positions, I think they are gaining root. In the last 4 years, women in parliament was not as many as now. So I believe they are making inroads in terms of development in other political positions.
Many women groups have been strongly advocating affirmative action as the way forward. There is momentum, but not enough of it, as policymakers try to drive momentum on the gender agenda. Let's see businesses join in too. This really would make International Women's Day on 8 March 2013 a day to celebrate. Marian Toure, reporting for Joy News, Accra.
Well, welcome back. That was actually Marian Toure's report on the eve of International Women's Day, which has the theme, the gender agenda. Is it gaining momentum? That's a question we're asking. You can send me your comments by text 1760 or post them on our Facebook or facebook.com/Joy News. And then if you are on Twitter, you can send us a tweet. Our handle is Joy News on TV. My name is Stephen Enti. So, Madam Stella Apenting, let's talk about you. Give us a practical experience of how you manage to juggle your career, your ambitions for business, and perhaps your family. How did you do all of that?
Well, to start with, as I told you earlier, I started as a nurse midwife, but unfortunately, I couldn't fit into the nursing career here. So I joined a company with dealing in baby foods at that time, and so I thought, well, that was taking me back to the hospital, and I enjoyed it. So that was business. Then I started doing a few courses in marketing so that I'll be able to market the product better. And through that, I ended up as a tour operator.
I see.
It's like new trends. I enjoy traveling. So even as a nurse, well, not the nurse in the hospital, but as a medical rep at the time, that took me to places, and yet I had to make sure I was home at the right time, pick the children up at 12 o'clock, make all the necessary arrangements, yes. So I think one can merge all this. As a woman, you'll be able to, you have to know time management, how to manage the day, how to manage the home, so that you are not found wanting. Otherwise, your children may also end up wayward or something like that. It is
tough being a woman, right?
Very tough, very tough.
I mean, if I'm a man, so if I have doubts about how tough or how difficult it is for a woman to succeed in their career, or perhaps have a fulfilling life, what should I be looking out for?
Well, so long, you should be looking out for, is it from the woman's perspective?
No, I mean generally. I'm talking from the standpoint of a man who perhaps has a lesser appreciation of the tasks and the difficulties that women go through. I mean, if you were advising such a man, what would you say to him? Maybe I should put it that way so that we can.
I will tell the man to be more family conscious, because most men tend to be more they want to be with their friends all the time. You need to be closer to your family, otherwise you lose out.
Look inward to understand.
Yes, inwards. And then as the children grow up, they become your friends, and you can go out with them to the right places, of course. Otherwise, you will miss out on their growth. And before you know, they know this is daddy, but they love their mommy so much. Yes.
I know a lot of people look up to you as a role model. So if you were speaking to young women of today who have, one, career ambitions to pursue, who have, two, education, seeking more knowledge, who have also ambitions of settling down, having their own family, what will you tell them? Where should they start from?
Well, a good education, and then doing the things that you enjoy doing. You must enjoy doing it. I said I started as a nurse. I'm a tour operator. I'm still dealing with people. So I look at the whole thing as caring for people, making sure they are comfortable. And in so doing, whichever way, once you have your guests, because we do ground handling, so making all the necessary arrangements is just like running a home. And then the people that will come in, the people you take out on tours, you need to be, you need to have a feeling for them. You have to put yourself in their shoes all the time. Just as if you're nursing a patient who has a terrible fracture or something, you need to put yourself in their shoes and to be able to render better service, good service. Because a smile or consoling words can just make people feel, well, it heals them.
It heals them. My name is Stephen Anti, and you're watching PM Express. I have in the studio Madame STELLA APENTENG, who is a business executive. Later on in the show, we'll get onto the phone lines to speak with SHAMIMA Muslim, who is a broadcaster. She is in a purely male-dominated environment, and we'll find out from her, really, how she manages to get along and whether she ever feels intimidated. And on a day like this, tomorrow is International Women's Day, she might have an advice or two for you. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to PM Express, Madame STELLA APENTENG. Let me ask you, where are the women in authority Do we need women in authority in order for us to know that, yes, the women are there or they have arrived?
Well, the women are there, but I think you're not looking hard enough. So you can't find them, but they are there. There are women in various sectors all over, and we need to perhaps lift the veil so you can see all of them.
But that's the problem. I mean, why don't
Lifting the veil.
Why don't they position themselves so that we can see them publicly? I mean, why aren't they out there as loud as the men are, so we can get a feel of what they do?
I think that is not... most women, they want to work normally instead of making the noise that I am here. Because if you attract too much attention, you may end up, I mean, you know, the press and
intrusion of privacy.
So you need to make sure that you encapsulate yourself. You don't want any issues outside your remit.
If you look at those who are out there, I mean, I'll take the Chief Justice, for example, and the Speaker of Parliament, the past Speaker of Parliament. They were women. They were women in high positions.
Yes.
What lessons should we draw from how they managed their positions?
Yeah, I think both of them were humble. They have been humble, because when you are in a very high position, you shouldn't raise yourself too much, otherwise someone will pull the carpet and you fall. And
well,
this is
I've been told that we have Shamima Muslim on the line, so we don't lose her. Good evening, Shamima, and thanks for joining us at such short notice.
Good evening. Good evening to your viewers as well. It's been a while.
Right, you're on PM Express on Multi TV, and I know that tomorrow is International Women's Day, and for someone like you, I mean, I've watched you. I admire your work and what you do. Do you get the sense that whilst you are at it, whilst you're doing your job in an environment which is seen as predominantly male, the man wants to pull you back?
Well, let me say that it's actually both ways. It would be unfair to say that it's only men that want to pull you back. It really sometimes can be both ways, and it depends on how you receive it. But you're right. Being in a male-dominated environment often lends itself to very patronizing attitude sometimes, even from your own colleagues, you know, because of what you do and the environment in which you do it in. So for me as an individual, it's always best that you recognize what value you bring to the table, instead that you know to bring value to the table. And it's best that sometimes when those attitudes show themselves in ways that you shouldn't let go, you point it out to them, because sometimes perpetrators of what you abuse or discrimination are unaware that they are behaving that way. So sometimes you need to be bold enough to point it out to them that these actions of yours offend me in this way, and they denigrate the value that I bring to the table, and I can't touch them to them.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if they are listening, they would change their attitudes. But yes, it's a tough environment to work in. The people you interview sometimes patronize you as well, because perhaps they feel that you're not on top of your subject. So for a woman, it's always best that you keep abreast of the issues and challenge the status quo.
I mean, I know there are lots of people, both women and men, who look up to you and the kind of career that you find yourself. Now, tell me, what kind of a woman have you become as a result of the influences and the environments that you've worked in?
Steven, I think it's constant work in progress. And then what kind of woman have I become? I think that I've become more confident. And in that confidence also comes a huge responsibility, because you recognize almost every day on a daily basis, walking the streets, driving your car, being recognized that you can't but take yourself seriously. You know, sometimes when you're an environment that you consider normal to be in, you don't see or feel the impact that you have strongly. Then when you really go out and you get all the reviews, then you know that, wow, I have to take myself more seriously, because people really take you very, very seriously. So I've become more confident, but I've also become aware of the huge responsibility on my shoulders in keeping up to what people expect from you, that you continue to serve as a good role model, encouraging others, enabling other stories to emerge, you know, giving life to other stories to emerge, and other success stories, especially for young girls, which is really my passion. Yeah.
So, Shamima, when you look at yourself and the work you do, I mean, I know that sometimes you need to have scruples in order to step on the knuckles of some men, really. I'm being selective with my words. But, I mean, if you look at what you do you think that, maybe I should put it this way, have you faced serious challenges in executing your job as a journalist or a broadcaster that at a point made you feel, whoo, I wish I was a man?
I have. And I'm even sure that, Stephen, even you as a male, you're faced similar. You know, nobody wants to be held accountable. It's not a very comfortable place for many people, especially for duty bearers that know that they owe it to the people that are seeking answers from them. It's not a very comfortable position for them. So most of them come into an interview with sometimes preconceived notions about what your agenda is, sometimes a bit defensive about their position if, you know, they're aware that maybe, you know, they don't have the right answers. And that aggression can sometimes really rub you off in the wrong way. And if you're not careful, you could also lose your cool, and that would be very unprofessional. So I have had several of such instances from male interviewees, sometimes even some female interviewees as well. And point is just to keep your ears about you and keep your head about you and just know your stuff and just make sure you get your answers. And yes, sometimes it's easier to be a man. When you're a woman too, people try to, you know, come on to you sometimes, and it's terrible with politics. It's like the more they try to come on to you, they feel as a woman, then you be less hard on them, you know. So you find people trying to flirt with you a lot just to be on your good side, just in case one day they appear before you, you'll be less mean to them. I think that's the thinking, but you always have to know that you need to do your job, and you need to do it very well to earn constant respect, I think.
Right. Shamima, before I make you go away, tomorrow is International Women's Day under the theme, the gender agenda. Is it gaining momentum? Would you say the gender agenda is gaining momentum in Ghana?
Well, I think that unfortunately we have only made incremental gains. And I don't blame anybody than the gender movement. It's unfortunate that for a long while people view gender issues as women issues, maybe because often women are at the lowest end of the gender issues. I think that women have to be tired of being second-place citizens. They have to be tired of being where they are, as one American civil activist put it. And they need to do it for themselves. Because if you don't understand your situation, you're not tired of being at point A, you would not, you know, gather the necessary momentum to move yourself to point Z. So the gender agenda would move to the extent that those that are most affected by its lack of progress realize that they need to do something, come on board, mobilize, support each other, mentor each other, old, young, and really push the boundaries and the ceilings for everybody to aspire and meet their aspirations. Really, that's what it's all about. That do not discriminate against me because I'm a woman. Do not put hurdles to my progress because I'm a woman. Do not seek to have sexual favors from me because I seek a job, you know, in your office. That's unfair. That's unequal. That's not equitable. And do not pay me less for the same job. And do not punish me because I'm engaging in my reproductive role.
So this is all attitudinal, really. And you think that we need to make a shift from these negative attitudes towards women, right?
We need to, and sometimes people just do not know it. So you need to point it out to them. These actions of yours that you perpetrate are the actions that are, you know, leading and continuing this path that we see. People don't sometimes know, and we need to point it out. And when you do, people shouldn't call you names. They shouldn't call you Marijata, Iron Lady. You know, they shouldn't call you Tuno, because they are trying to point it out to them that your actions, whether knowingly or unknowingly, is affecting someone else's progress. You know?
I'm very grateful, Shamima, for your time here on PM Express, and have a lovely evening, and thanks a lot. Well, Shamima Muslim is a broadcast journalist. I'm sure you're familiar with the experiences that she was sharing. I mean, this attitudinal change, when should men begin to change? Well, I mean, I keep saying men because I'm a man, and I feel that the attitudinal change must happen not for men alone, really, but all of us. Where should we start from? From the home, or from the office, or from, you know, where should we begin to draw the line?
It starts from the home, because sometimes some homes, they bring up children, and he's a man, he's a boy, so he's treated differently.
You give him boys attention.
Yes.
And then you give the girls attention.
Right. But I suppose, as I told you, all girls, practically all girls. So level playing ground. We're all treated the same. So what the boys could do, you could also do it. And the boys were treated as the women. I mean, you might as well, you have to know how to keep a home, have some understanding, at least. So we should start from the home, bring the children up in such a way that they have a balanced perception of each other. Nothing, I'm a man, I'm the man of the house, and you know, that kind of thing. Sometimes
your boys don't even know how to wash plates. Because
so you cannot be the man of the house. Yes.
So 56 years after independence, I mean, when we look at ourselves celebrating 6th March, what was that, yesterday or so?
Yesterday.
Yeah, and we talk about a lot of achievements. When you look back from the time you were in school to today, do you think that women's place in our society has been consciously preserved? I mean, I'm using my words cautiously because there have been, you know, policies like get the girl child in school, keep the girl child. There have been pro-girls policies all through the time. Do you think these have worked?
Not exactly. I think, well, up to a point, because still we have we're not putting them all together. All children must go to school, and that's it. Parents encourage the girls, as also the boys, because they have to. We live in an environment. It's not just girls' show. It's you know, we have to integrate.
Mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
We all live together.
So, a conscious effort needs to be made so that instead of girl child, yes, maybe it's an emphasis, but all the children, the boys need education as well.
I mean, in the 21st century, where there are practices like female genital mutilation and other horrible cultural practices against women still exist in our society, are we serious as a country? I mean, I can't get it.
I think, well, we are serious.
Trocosi, for example, and keeping women in a witch's camp, for example. These are cruelty
For lack of
women.
knowledge. So if parents have better knowledge of what it is to be who you are, they will not succumb to such practices. Because why should you send your child to a camp? Is it a trocosi?
Yeah.
Are they called camps or something?
Yeah, they're camps.
Yes.
Actually camps.
And also the female genital mutilation. What is it for? Why? If we have better understanding of ourselves, we will not encourage these things. Be it that, yes, it's a cultural practice, but is it good for the child? Is it good for, well, you had it, does it mean your child must also have it? No. We need to find out, seek knowledge.
So really, I mean, if I'm understanding you clearly, it means that you're saying that all of these change that we aspire as a country towards making our women's life better must start from the home. For example, if you are a parent and then you understand the role of your child in society, whether they're men, they're boys or they're girls, you won't do anything that will jeopardize their life, and you wouldn't look up to government to perhaps bring some law to cancel
will not.
Because any cultural practice or anything.
No.
So that's where we have to
knowledge is what we need. Knowledge. We need to seek, find, knowledge. And if we have the knowledge of ourselves and of our children, of the family unit, and why that practice was and why it shouldn't be now, you don't need any law to be passed that no more female mutilation.
If you look at women in entrepreneurship, women in business, would you say that women have had it all? I mean, have they had an equal platform, like you said earlier, in business? You're not sure.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. I'm not sure. Because then it means that it's really non-existent, because you as a business person who started out in doing your own businesses, the challenges you face, you didn't think that people related to you better and gave you favors because you were a woman?
Sometimes you could feel it. I mean, even from the way the people talk to you, it's like, well, it's because you're a woman, maybe, okay, so we can go out for a drink later in the evening or something like that. I said, no, but you need to be strong as a woman. To do anything, you need to be tough and to have confidence in yourself first. Because if you don't have confidence, the men will just talk you out of it, or circumstances will pull you back. And so, self-confidence.
Self-confidence. Benjamin Bonte, I got just your message. You say that all of the above can contribute to the success of children if they believe in themselves and their parents. So that's your view on that. You can send us a few more messages and we'll read them here before we wrap up. You can send by text 1760, post them on our Facebook or facebook.com/Joy News on TV. Tomorrow is the International Women's Day. So Madam Apente, tell me what your expectations for women are ahead of tomorrow. I know that it's apart from the theme of gender agenda gaining momentum, when you look at a day like that, what do you think we should be celebrating?
Well, celebrating it together with the boys and men, it's like all of us, because we need to understand each other. And if we do understand each other, we'll be sharing the pain, the gains, and all. And we will share ideas. And all of us will have confidence in ourselves which is very important. Without confidence, and then also the women, for women, they should seek for more knowledge to be at par with the men. When you have the knowledge, don't swell up
and feel bossy over the man
right.
and clamp them down.
Right.
That attitude.
That, no. You need to, when you have the knowledge and understanding of whatever you're doing, it helps you to even be more humble. So as you were asking about the Chief Justice and the former
Speaker of Parliament.
Speaker of Parliament, I believe that they were both, they have been, I think it's
they've all played their part in,
and because they are knowledgeable, they don't need to exert any
special authority in order to feel significant.
And they are knowledgeable, therefore they are confident in whatever they come up with.
Well, thank you very much, Stella Apenting, and this is where we draw the curtains. My name is Stephen Enti. We were joined on the telephone line by Shamima Muslim, who is a broadcaster. We're very grateful that she could join us on the show, and thanks to you who made time for us. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of PM Express Personality Friday. Good night.